Welcome back to Renew You Life. And if you're new here, a particularly warm welcome to you. It feels good to settle in and explore something that touches so many of us, that persistent feeling of being just well worn out.
It really does, yeah. It's the kind of tiredness that, goes way beyond just needing a good night's sleep. Here at Renew You Life, we really try to see your well-being as a whole, picture your energy levels, clear thinking, that sense of inner peace, and feeling constantly drained. That's a clear signal that something deserves our attention.
Absolutely, yeah. Today, we're going to dive into some of those often overlooked reasons why that fatigue might be sticking around, even when you think you're doing all the right things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's maybe start by looking beyond just physical activity.
Sure.
Because sometimes the deepest drains on our energy come from a place you might not immediately expect. Our emotions.
That's such a crucial point. I mean, think about the years many of us have spent maybe as caregivers or navigating demanding careers.
Yeah.
Or even just managing the constant pressures of daily life. This kind of sustained emotional output. It can deeply deplete your reserves.
Right.
It's a different kind of tiredness than, say, sore muscles after a workout. It's a profound weariness. It impacts your entire system.
It's like even when you're physically still, there's this sort of underlying weight, a sense of detachment, maybe even that mental fog we hear about. It really highlights that simply logging more hours in bed isn't always going to, refill that emotional tank.
Precisely. If your fatigue is rooted in that kind of emotional strain, rest alone is, well, it's like putting a bandage on a deeper issue.
Yeah.
You really need to actively focus on rebuilding that emotional resilience.
Like a marathon analogy you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine running an emotional marathon. A quick nap just isn't going to address that deep level of depletion.
And speaking of running on empty, this is
Yeah.
where things get really interesting, I think. So many of us, especially over 40, are operating in this subtle, often unnoticed state of fight or flight. You might not consciously feel stressed in that moment, but your body,
Yeah.
it can still be reacting as if it is.
And what's fascinating, or maybe concerning to consider, is how this chronic stress response unfolds. Your nervous system just keeps releasing stress hormones like cortisol,
Right.
even if you don't feel acutely threatened. This constant low-level activation, it has some significant downstream effects on your energy and well-being.
It really does. This ongoing state of alert, it can mess with your sleep patterns, leading to that frustrating morning fatigue. You might also experience that brain fog that makes it hard to focus.
Yeah, the concentration thing.
Those energy crashes that hit mid-afternoon, and maybe even a heightened sense of anxiety or irritability.
It's all interconnected. It really is. A symphony of your body just trying to cope.
That sort of stressed symphony.
Yeah, and this pattern of symptoms is often linked to what's sometimes called HPA axis dysregulation. Think of the HPA axis as the communication network between your brain's hypothalamus and pituitary glands and your adrenal glands, key players in your stress response. When this system is constantly activated, it can lead to these persistent feelings of fatigue and those other related issues we mentioned. And the solution here isn't just about, forcing yourself to relax.
Exactly. That doesn't always work, does it?
No.
The key seems to be nurturing your nervous system back to a state of calm, gently. This involves incorporating maybe gentle movement that doesn't feel like another demand.
Right, not adding more stress.
Making time for conscious breathing exercises to signal safety to your body, spending time in nature, which has that deeply grounding effect.
Nature's great for that.
Exploring practices that offer spiritual renewal, and actively looking at ways to reduce unnecessary pressures in your daily life. It's about gently retraining that internal alarm system, sort of dialing it down.
Spot on. Now, as we navigate our 40s and beyond, another really significant piece of this puzzle is, well, the natural shifts in our hormones. Our internal chemistry undergoes changes that can have a really profound impact on how we feel, including our energy levels.
And these aren't just abstract biological processes happening somewhere inside. They manifest in very tangible ways, don't they?
Absolutely. We're talking about changes in how your thyroid functions, fluctuations in estrogen and testosterone levels, and even shifts in your body's sensitivity to insulin. All these things can
Yeah.
play a role.
So what does that look like day to day?
Well, it's important to understand that these hormonal shifts can contribute to things like a slower metabolic rate, that persistent feeling of being tired no matter how much you rest.
Yeah.
Difficulty concentrating, that brain fog, again, those strong cravings that seem to come out of nowhere.
Oh, yes.
And even changes in your weight and your mood swings can definitely be part of it.
And it's so vital to remember this isn't simply a matter of getting older and just accepting fatigue as the new normal.
No, not at all.
It's more about becoming attuned to these natural transitions and recognizing that you might benefit from different support strategies. Or maybe even exploring some targeted testing with a healthcare professional to see what's really going on under the hood.
Exactly. Being proactive. Okay, let's shift our focus a bit to sleep. Because you might be diligently aiming for those 8 hours in bed.
Right, doing everything by the book.
But what the research consistently shows is that the quality of that rest is far more critical than just the duration. It's really about how effectively your body is actually recovering during those hours.
That's such a common experience, isn't it? You spend what feels like a full night in bed, but you still wake up feeling utterly drained, just exhausted.
Totally.
The research highlights some key indicators of what they call non-restorative sleep. Things like waking up frequently between, say, 2 and 4 a.m.
That classic window.
Tossing and turning for long periods, or just that heavy, groggy feeling, maybe even body aches when you wake up.
Those are your body's signals. It's telling you it's not completing its natural repair cycles fully during the night.
So it's not getting the deep work done.
Pretty much. And achieving that deep restorative sleep, it usually involves a combination of factors working together.
The sources really emphasize the importance of establishing good sleep hygiene practices. The basics,
Yeah, the foundations.
creating a calming, screen-free routine in the hours leading up to bed. That's a big one these days.
Huge.
Paying attention to maintaining stable blood sugar levels throughout the day, surprisingly.
That connects too, definitely.
And nurturing a sense of inner peace and spiritual calm as you wind down. It seems like a very holistic approach to sleep.
It has to be, really. Which brings us to another really insightful concept. What we might call prolonged survival mode. Many of us have spent years, maybe even decades, just carrying significant responsibilities, striving to achieve goals, navigating challenges.
Just keeping all the plates spinning.
Exactly. Keeping everything going.
It truly speaks to our strength and resilience doing that for so long.
It absolutely does. But as the research wisely points out, our bodies just aren't designed to operate at that sustained level of high output indefinitely, not without consequences.
Right, there's a cost.
Survival mode is meant to be temporary, a short-term response to acute stress.
Not a lifestyle.
Definitely not meant to become our baseline way of operating. And that prolonged state of high alert and constant striving, that can significantly contribute to that deep, persistent feeling of exhaustion.
So if you're listening and recognizing some of these patterns in your own life, you might be wondering, okay, what's the first step? How do I start feeling better? The encouraging news is that renewal is absolutely within reach. But, as the sources underscore, it requires conscious, intentional effort. It doesn't just happen.
No, it doesn't. And I think the most important first step is to approach yourself with kindness, real self-compassion. Allow yourself permission to slow down, maybe release some of the pressure you might be putting on yourself.
That's hard for many people.
It is, but true healing often begins with giving yourself that grace, that permission.
Yeah, and maybe take a mindful look at your daily rhythms.
Good idea. Like, are your eating patterns supporting consistent energy throughout the day? Or are they contributing to crashes? Are you incorporating some form of regular movement that feels nourishing, not punishing, even if it's just a gentle walk outside?
Movement doesn't have to be intense.
And are you creating those essential screen-free windows to allow your mind to truly rest and reset?
And alongside that, intentionally nurturing your nervous system is paramount. Think about weaving in practices like conscious breath work. Just a few minutes can help. Spending time in prayer or meditation if that resonates.
Getting out into nature.
Immersing yourself in the natural world, yeah. Taking slow, mindful walks. And prioritizing activities that genuinely bring you laughter and a sense of joy. Playfulness even.
And please, don't hesitate to be your own advocate when it comes to your physical health. The research really encourages you to consider having that conversation with a healthcare practitioner about checking your hormone levels, nutrient levels.
Absolutely. Get things checked out. Sometimes, as the sources highlight, there are underlying physical factors that are actually very treatable, things you can do something about.
Definitely worth exploring. And finally, remember to prioritize what we might call soul rest. This goes beyond just physical sleep. It's about making time for spiritual connection and restoration.
Even brief moments.
Even if it's just for a few moments each day. That sense of connection can be incredibly grounding and deeply restorative.
So as we bring this all together, I really want to reiterate that feeling constantly tired doesn't have to be your new normal. It just doesn't.
Hmm.
While your body does go through changes, your capacity to rebuild your energy, your mental clarity, your inner strength,
Hmm.
it's real. It happens through those small, consistent shifts.
Little by little.
Let this maybe be a turning point, not the end of your vitality, but the beginning of a more deeply restored and resilient. Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. Thanks for spending time with us today. And don't forget to follow us on all our socials to stay connected and inspired.
And as you reflect on this deep dive into the many layers behind persistent tiredness, I invite you to consider this. What is one small, gentle act of self-care you can offer yourself today that begins to whisper the possibility of renewed energy and well-being?